Hello there. Remember when Loki was Marvel's only entertaining villain? For a few years, villains were considered Marvel's Achilles heel, because even though Marvel always did well financially, and at worst Marvel usually could still pull off a C+, though a D wasn't unheard of, their villains were typically the weakest part. I mean, Iron Man rocked, Guardians of the Galaxy rocked, the Avengers especially rocked, but though Ironmonger is arguably underrated, he's hardly up there among villains, and Ronan the Accuser is just lame. Only the Avengers had an entertaining villain, and he was carried over from Thor. Thor is a B-tier film, and that's being generous. And if the Avengers had a different villain, Thor would have had Marvel's best villain. And this issue followed through phases 1 and 2. But then phase 3 happened, and though a few villains were still underwhelming, others certainly were not. Ego the Living Planet from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 put on a full, polite and charming facade to lure in his prey for expansion, and killed his own children if they were of no use. Though the Vulture certainly did questionable things, he always stressed that it was to provide for his family. Hela, though lacking depth, her actress infused so much malevolent joy into her performance that she didn't need much depth. Thanos, first introduced in the Avengers, finally made his debut with complex writing and a nuanced performance by Josh Brolin. And I have to say that Ghost is definitely Marvel's most underrated villain. Her motivation is profoundly simple. She just doesn't want to fucking die. And among these Phase 3 villains, the one that was widely agreed upon to be the best of the bunch, if not the whole franchise, was Killmonger. People loved this guy, praising his performance, his motivation, with his personality garnering sympathy and understanding, and I just have to be the one to say that that's all bullshit. Killmonger doesn't work, and here's why. First, something nice, or soft. Michael B. Jordan is fine. Michael B. Jordan is a great actor, possibly one of the best of his generation, and I'll have some genuinely good things to say about him later. Second, I think it's cool that his armor looks like Vegeta's. How did this become Vegeta's most iconic look? So to start, what does Killmonger want and why does he want it? Killmonger, being an abandoned heir to the Wakandan throne lost in the United States, travels to Wakanda to become king and uses Wakanda's superior technology to liberate the oppressed, having seen and experienced what oppressed minorities face in the world. And therein lies the problem. Killmonger doesn't actually give a shit about black people. Now, how can I say such a thing? The United States' treatment of black people was the main contributor to Killmonger's resentment towards Wakanda, which isolated itself from the world for centuries, refusing to get involved, refusing to help. Killmonger pontificated about how Wakanda should be the ultimate world power, and end the suffering of black people. Wasn't all of that effectively portrayed? No. Here's why. Look at Killmonger's opening scene. They steal a vibranium weapon from the British Museum while he points out that the weapon was originally stolen by the British Empire. Now I have absolutely no problem with that. Down with the monarchy. But pretty soon we run into a problem. Right as this scene ends, Killmonger's attention is grabbed by a tribal mask, which he leaves with and keeps. That mask does not belong to him, and he says that it isn't from Wakanda. A Wakandan stealing back a Wakandan weapon from the British? I can get behind that. But a Wakandan stealing an African artifact not from Wakanda with apparently no intention to return it to its country of origin, and certainly is never shown returning it? Or maybe he does because it disappears? Well, if they did film that scene, they shouldn't have cut it. more on that later. Let's now talk about a huge conceptual problem with Marvel trying to use oppression faced by black people as an integral part of Killmonger's character. Now, Black Panther didn't really show it, but let's pretend that it did. Marvel hadn't really tried to depict these kinds of topical political situations since Iron Man 2008, which depicted the turbulent Middle East. A problem that Iron Man unintentionally contributed to and is now trying to solve. Black Panther, like I said, doesn't show this. Watch a Spike Lee film. Spike Lee doesn't shy away from showing how bad the world can be. He'll show footage of riots, war crimes, and fascist speeches just to make his point. Black Panther needed those kinds of guts, but I guess that would have made the Disney film less marketable. Come on, it's Marvel. It would have made $1 billion anyway. Something else that hurts Killmonger is a lack of humanity. Killmonger says that he wants to end oppression, which sounds nice. I mean, it sounds better than Thanos wanting to wipe out half of all life. But what gives Thanos more humanity are these small moments that aren't related too closely to the main plot, but make him feel more human. During Infinity War, we get a flashback of Thanos committing a genocide on Gamora's planet, which is horrific. But we also get the Mad Titan turning Child Gamora's gaze away from his crimes and gives her a small present and briefly teaches her how to use it. Doesn't make him any less evil, but it fleshes him out and makes him more human. Loki is similar in Thor. He's shown to genuinely like his brother and tries to quell his more violent impulses. It's not until he starts to discover what he really is halfway through the movie that he starts to snap. I mean, put yourself in Loki's shoes. Not only is your family not your family, but you're also from a race of monsters that you've been lied to for your whole life. That's existentially terrifying. Killmonger doesn't really have these smaller moments that humanize him. Okay, sometimes he's his dead father, but he's been dead since childhood and Killmonger more or less says, people die all the time, why fret? It's not like it's all that relevant to his motivation anyway. Michael B. Jordan and Sterling K. Brown are both good in that scene, but it has so little bearing on Killmonger's goals that they may as well have cut it. At least Gamora is a significant player in Infinity War. At least Loki's family stick around long enough to witness their adopted son's fall from grace. What else does Killmonger have? He has a girlfriend that's in a couple of scenes, one whom he shoots through to get to Claw and isn't the least bit apologetic, so he didn't care at all about her. Now, in fairness, there apparently was a deleted scene where Killmonger and unnamed girlfriend, where if a scenario like the one where Claw takes her hostage arises, that they both agreed that he should shoot through her. Too bad that they cut that scene, so I guess Killmonger just didn't care about her. Also, I can't find that deleted scene. And you know what, that ties in with another significant problem with Killmonger. We're supposed to sympathize with Killmonger on some level, which would require qualities that are sympathetic or redeeming. Black Panther already failed to portray Killmonger as sympathetic, and they don't give him too many strong redeeming qualities. During his fight with Black Panther, he's very arrogant and loud? He's trying to humiliate T'Challa as he's defeating him and acts like an alpha douche. He also kills this insignificant character that Black Panther liked, I guess. If Killmonger was genuine in his goals, he would have gently pleaded for T'Challa to stand down before begrudgingly throwing him down the waterfall. Not just Killmonger, but he also threatens one of his attendants into burning all the heart-shaped herbs. And another problem with Killmonger is that I think the character mishandles Michael B. Jordan. Though we fail to sympathize with Killmonger, it's not because Jordan can't draw sympathy. Jordan's performance in and of itself is fine, and in a better movie could have been great. It's less the film's script that cripples Jordan, but more the film's structure. The film and Jordan seem to always be on two different wavelengths. Killmonger is frightened into destroying all the heart-shaped herbs, which I guess we're, though not supposed to enjoy, are supposed to understand, and then the very next shot is him assuming the throne of Wakanda, while Jordan carries himself with the menace. Curious pacing. Additionally, why are they trying to have us mourn Eric right after he tried to subjugate the world? Like I said, it doesn't work. No, the film's attempts to get us to sympathize with Killmonger fell, because Killmonger is not sympathetic. He's an arrogant, hypocritical bully that doesn't give a shit about black people. Now, for all the bad things that I said about Killmonger, there is one scene featuring him that really works. Not that it hasn't been a bit obvious, but I am not a fan of Marvel's Black Panther, but I liked the sequel quite a bit. I speak more about those films in depth in an episode of my podcast, but suffice to say, I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever is either the best or second best film of Marvel's Phase 4, and one scene I particularly like was after Shuri takes the recreated heart-shaped herb. Instead of having the same ancestral plane experience as her brother, she finds Killmonger in the throne room, saying that her family weren't fit to be rulers. This is basically Satan tempting Jesus. He more or less says so. You want to be like your brother, or you want to take care of business like me? Killmonger really works here, because Black Panther Wakanda Forever is obviously framing and portraying him as a satanic corruptor type character. There's no attempt to make him sympathetic. The atmosphere is tense and spooky, and Shuri has someone whom she needs to prove wrong. Wakanda Forever really is a much better movie, and it has a better villain. But like I said, this is just my opinion, and if you think Killmonger is still one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's best villains, more power to you. I just hope that you found my video to be a little cogent here and there.